Hi friends, Aaron here. I'm going to jump back into the deal with youth leaving the church during adolescence. And this video, I want to talk about what really resonates, what works with connecting with teenagers. After the last video that I put out, someone on the email list emailed me and shared a very quick story that I think had a lot of meaning to it. This person told me that for years she had been sending birthday cards, personal notes to several young people in her church. And it was just a simple note of encouragement. There was no program, no spotlight, just consistency. And she said that many of the youth that she sent these notes to show up and usually greet her with a hug on Sunday mornings. And stories like that sound simple, but it can tell us something really important about youth and their connection to the church. Because what this person was doing wasn't flashy or trendy, but it really reflects something that we have been seeing over and over again with youth that have stayed with the church. And it's this, is that young people stay connected when it becomes personal. And stuff like this isn't just anecdotal. Research right now across North America points to the same thing. From the Fuller Institute, they talk about one of the biggest markers and indicators of long-term connection, especially with young people, is that having multiple relationships with people in the church is one of the strongest indicators that youth will stay long-term. And they're finding that multiple young people report staying connected when they have long-term relationships with people outside of their family that are also investing in them. And we're not talking about a crowd of adults. We're just talking about a handful of adults that were investing in these young people really allowed the connection to remain strong. Barna Research really talks about in their research that when young people are siloed into age-only spaces, connection can weaken. And so when they're known across the entire church family or church congregation, this is where connection grows. Barna Research also says that when young people are helping and participating rather than observing, this is also a major contributor to growing deeper into the church family. Things like serving, leadership roles, visible trust, and responsibility. For a young person, being needed builds ownership. So today's young people are looking for a church, looking for information that speaks directly into a few things like anxiety, identity, purpose, and the pressures that they face in everyday life. And so they're not really rejecting faith, they're testing to see whether it connects. So when someone writes cards, birthday cards, milestone cards, notes of encouragement to young people in her church, she's actually embodying the research that confirms all this. And these are just simple things like being consistent, personal connection, and being known are three big things that young people really just are looking for. Simple actions repeated over time are a huge thing that matter to young people rather than one big event because they want it to be personal. And so we're not really talking about churches needing to reinvent themselves. Often the biggest impact comes from small intentional things for teenagers. And those could be things, just to name a few, are like remembering milestones for individuals, inviting youth into real roles in a church, and then listening before advising. And so hypothetically, if every single young person stopped showing up or disappeared in your church, would you personally notice them by name? Not administratively, not collectively as a group, but would you know that Sally has stopped coming? Would you know that? And so you don't need to worry about being trendy or flashy or speaking the lingo. Even though speaking the lingo might help, teenagers are looking for personal connection. That's it. Not the greatest youth ministry program, not the latest, greatest video out there. They want to know you by name. And that is the number one thing that research is pointing to. And so young people need church to be personal for them, to stay connected. It's that simple. So understanding this issue is important, but eventually we all have to ask the question, what does really good youth ministry look like? And we'll jump into that in the next video. Until next time, see ya.